Hey guys, welcome back to another movie review. Today we are reviewing The Glass Castle, which is based off of a memoir by Jeanette Walls.
This movie's reception surprised us because we weren't expecting it to be as controversial as it has been. If you look on Rotten Tomatoes right now, it has a pretty low
I
score.
think it was 50% last time I looked, but that was a couple days ago. So this is going to be a non-spoiler review, but to put the negative reviews into context, I guess, the subject matter of this movie and the book that it's based on is it's a true story about the author's life, Jeanette Walls, and her experience growing up with a loving but abusive father.
And mother.
It's very nuanced, I think, in the way that she portrays her own life, and because of that, there's a lot of people on polarizing sides of how she chooses to remember her father.
That being said, we actually really liked this movie.
I think it's one of the best book-to-movie adaptations I've ever seen. I've seen plenty of people say the complete opposite, which I don't understand. I think this followed the book excellently. I think that the tone of it matched the book perfectly. I really, really loved this movie. It was very impactful.
Yeah, I told her right when we left the theater that it was one of the hardest watches so far this year, but it was one of my favorites. It was really dang good.
In this story, we are following Jeanette and her family, which consists of her mother, father, and 3 siblings, a brother and 2 sisters. And they live a very nomadic lifestyle due to the choices of the parents. They live in pretty terrible poverty, and based on the way this story is told, that poverty is kind of by choice. They choose not to stick in places very long. The dad's very paranoid of people being after him, and they just have a really unhealthy dynamic, but at the same time, you can tell that the parents really love their kids despite it being a problematic love.
Yeah, they very much care about their kids, but it's also like they'll let their kids go a week without eating food and things like that. That you're just like, this is clearly abuse and neglect in a lot of ways, but sometimes they're also really good parents. And it is definitely a weird dichotomy in the film.
It displays dysfunctional families in a really interesting and, in my opinion, very honest way.
I think this movie is going to appear 2 different ways to viewers. Either if you've had some sort of experience or knowledge of some of the subject matter, or if you've ever dealt with just a dysfunctional person, in the ways that they are in this movie, it gives you some understanding about the level of disconnection that these characters feel in this film, and that weird relationship between, like, they are your family, but at the same time, they're really not good for you. And we see Brie Larson's character struggle with this throughout the movie.
Yeah, I definitely disagree with the people who say that this glorifies abuse. I didn't get the sense from that at all. I didn't get that from the book or the movie. It just seemed to me that it displayed the abuse without necessarily condoning it, and it was presented in a way where it definitely wasn't okay.
I think that can be muddled for some viewers because the film does have its happier moments and it does kind of switch back and forth, but I think that was kind of the goal with the movie, is that they have one of these really fun family moments, the good fun music's playing, and it'll switch to a darker moment that you start to really feel for these characters, or you just feel icky. Like, I sat there watching it the whole time and I was just like, like watching my shirt.
Yeah, I've watched a couple other reviews from bigger and smaller reviewers on YouTube, and a few of them said that they felt like the tone of the film was very strange and very odd, and I disagree. I think that it was spot on, because if you've ever experienced a dysfunctional family or just a dysfunctional relationship with anyone, you know that you have those really dark moments, but you also have the really happy moments, and they're very much juxtapositioned against each other, and I think the film displayed the weird, like you said, dichotomy between that.
Yeah, I think the roller coaster that the movie's tone goes through is very similar to the roller coaster that is actually experiencing that. So I would believe that that was a intentional choice by the filmmakers, not necessarily that they just weren't paying attention and it got weird. I think that this film really shows off some great performances, most notably by Woody Harrelson. He does a crazy good job in this film.
Naomi Watts was also very excellent, and while I enjoyed Brie Larson and her portrayal of the character, she's not the main focus of the film, at least not her adult self, And so I saw a lot of people criticizing the fact that she wasn't like the main actress in the film, even though she was very heavily advertised as such, and I think that follows the original storyline really well, but I agree Woody Harrelson was the standout performance in this film.
Yeah, I thought he did a really good job of portraying that good father, but he's also tortured by, his own issues and his own past. And man, there's a lot of moments where this movie gets you to really feel for this guy, and then the next scene, you really hate this guy at the same time.
Yeah, and as someone who did read the book, I think that he portrayed the character that were introduced in the source material very accurately. I think that it was really well done, and I would be really surprised if his name doesn't show up in Oscar nominations this year.
I mean, for this performance, it definitely should. As far as any of the other actors,
I don't know if they're Oscar-worthy. They're good, but they're not Oscar-worthy in my opinion.
yeah, especially because Brie Larson was in the film a lot less than the film would lead you to believe with its advertising. But I think the main standouts were the two parents.
I think that this turned out to be a very good book-to-movie adaptation, largely in part of Jeanette Walls being very selective of who she chose to direct and produce this movie. I was reading an interview with her before we went to see the movie, and she mentioned that she had been approached by several other producers, directors, movie studios throughout the years, and they always wanted to put a Hollywood spin on it. So one wanted to turn it into this like romance storyline, which I don't know how you get that out of it. And another one wanted to play up the celebrity side of it because she does eventually go to New York and become quite popular and wealthy. And so she was really unhappy with a lot of that, and she finally came across the guy who produced or directed Life of Pi. And as she talked to him and how much he wanted to make it authentic and accurate, she just fell in love with it, and she was very proud of how this movie turned out. And they even went back to her hometown to film some of the scenes and use some of the high schoolers who go to her old high school and stuff like that. So it's just little touches like that that I really enjoyed in the movie. And also at the very end during the credits, if you do go see this, I recommend staying through the credits because they show real life clips and pictures of Jeanette as she was growing up and moving to New York.
Yeah, I think all those details just lend a lot of authenticity to this film. It feels like a very honest and raw movie the whole way through. And it's really hard when you realize that, no, this is an actual story. And all of those scenes and stuff were in the book. Like, that's straight her memoir. Those things actually happened to her. It doesn't seem like this movie was like one of those based on a true story but totally blown out of proportion. It seems pretty accurate to real life.
I think it's pretty clear that we really enjoyed this movie despite a lot of the reviews going around. We think it was excellent. He didn't read the book, but he still really liked it.
Yeah, I loved it.
And I think that if you have read the source material, you will absolutely love this movie. And if you haven't read the source material, I think it depends on what kind of approach you're coming into the movie with.
Well, that's our review. What did you guys think of The Glass Castle if you've already seen it? This review is going up a couple days after it's already been out. So what did you think? Let us know in the comments below if you loved it, if you hated it. Like we said, this is a controversial movie, so we totally understand that some people probably have different opinions than us. But let us know. As always, like and subscribe. We have a lot of different videos. We have a ton of stuff coming up this week. And if you want to see some of our other videos, you guys can click right over there, and we'll see you next time.